Hi everyone, Kendall here, and welcome back to week 2 of our Bunnies and Blooms Sew Along, which this week we're going to look at the blooms. Before we get to that though, I've got a massive shout out for Gillian Bloomfield. You were the winner of our giveaway, and I need you to email me using contacts@quiltingbasics.com.au. I'll put that on the bottom of the screen here, so that I can organise getting that prize to you. If I don't hear from you again within the next week, I will redraw that giveaway prize. Okay, this week, as I said, we are going to look at the bloom blocks, and they are done in 2 different ways, just as we made 2 different bunny rabbits. So throughout this tutorial, I'm remaking the blocks to do a wall hanging, so I will do one of each type so that you can go ahead from there. For the full quilt, you'll need 6 of one and 4 of the other, as we did with our bunnies, as each bloom type goes with each different facing rabbit. Okay, grab your fabric, grab your beverage, grab your pattern, come with me, and I'll show you how I do it. So here we are with week 2 of our Bunnies and Blooms, and this week we're going to cover the blooms. Everything for the full quilt, as shown on the front of my pattern, is listed inside for the cutting directions for the blooms. And much like the bunnies, we have to do 2 different styles of blooms for the quilt. There's also the original houndstooth flowers pattern available from the Benettex website, which is where I drew these blocks from. All completely free and all just for you. So for this week, we will start by making the petals of the flowers, and for that we just need our pieces Q and M. So for Q, you should have 8 pieces of each colour of your blooms, and what we're going to do first of all is separate those out into 2 lots of 4, because we need to put a sew and flip on 2 of the corners of these, and they need to be on specific corners. So we'll take our Q squares and split those from the colours into 2 lots of 4, and then we'll place the first lot horizontally on the table in front of us, meaning the long side towards our tummy, and the other 4 from each colour will go vertically on the table. We'll then put a sew and flip in the top right hand corner of each of these and move forward. I'm going to start by doing the vertical pieces, and I'm just going to use my folded corner clipper tool for this week, as it's my preferred method, but you can do it the traditional method, which is drawing a diagonal line on the back of the square, placing it in the corner, making sure all of your edges are lined up, sewing just to the right of the line, flipping it back to test that you still have a square piece, and cutting the back 2 layers off. For the folded corner clipper, however, we just place that on, matching up all of our measurements and making sure that all of our edges are lined up nicely, and then we slice the piece off before sewing it. What the folded corner clipper tool does is give you the perfect 1/4 inch seam to go ahead and then just sew this and press them over. So I'll get all of these vertical pieces ready and take them to the machine and stitch my 1/4 inch seam. Now I know I skipped over a bit, but the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I didn't line my folded corner clipper up exactly on the lines for the corner. And that's because sometimes I get lazy and I actually find it easier to just find the bottom corner and then make sure that the top diagonal goes through the top corner. much the same as when you use a standard quilting ruler, as I've shown in other videos. Sometimes I just find that a little bit quicker than trying to make sure that everything's lining up. I just make sure that I have my diagonal perfect. Now on these vertical pieces, we're going to press up away from our main shape, and then we'll get ready to do our horizontal ones. So now we'll grab our remaining petal shapes and our remaining M's, so our Q and M's, and we'll make sure we did the first ones vertically, so now we've got to do these ones horizontally, which means you place the long part towards your tummy. So once again, we just place it in the top right hand corner, and I'm showing you again in this video how I do it with a standard quilting ruler. Now, I just spoke about how I also use the folded corner clipper tool as if it's a standard quilting ruler, and it's just whatever is easiest for you or what you have to hand. We can't all have all of the tools, so it's good to know all of the different ways to do this. So once again, we're just going to put our sew and flip in the top right hand corner of all of these, take them to our machine, sew our 1/4 inch seam, and these ones we're going to press a little differently. For this half of our petals, we're going to press them towards the Q rectangle rather than out towards the corner, and this will allow us to nest that seam when we sew these two units together to get our petal shape. So we just sit it on the mat with the Q rectangle on the top, we fold it back and we give it a good press, and that way we will get nesting seams when we come to the next step. We now just need to take these and sew them together with a vertical seam there, making sure that the two sew and flips are facing each other. And because of the way that we just press these, you will see here that we have nice nesting seams. So we'll take those to the machine and stitch our 1/4 inch on each and every one of these. With all of those seams now sewn, we'll just give them a clip apart, and we are going to press this seam open. It just reduces the bulk a little bit. Even though you've got those nesting seams going in different directions, I just find it best to press this one open. So we'll get all of that done and we can move on to our next step. We're going to move on to the center of our flowers now, and for that we need R and P. Now your R are the same color as all of your blooms, and you should have 4 of each color with 1 yellow center or whatever center that you are using, and we simply need to put a sew and flip on all 4 corners of these. I get all of this ready at the same time, and you'll see through the sewing part how I chain piece it through, making sure that I get all 4 corners done on both of my pieces. We'll then take this to the pressing mat and press all of these out towards the corner. Oh, wow. Sorry, folks. I really must have bumped the camera, and from reviewing this footage, I don't notice for quite some time. So hopefully I don't make anyone seasick. As I said before, we'll just press all of these out now towards the corners. We'll now move on to making the side parts of our leaf unit, and for that we need our pieces O and half of what we have for L. So in my instance, I'm just grabbing 4 of my L squares, and I have 2 of each of my colors for the leaves. Once again, we need to put these on a specific corner to have our flower leaves going in the set directions as per the pattern. So divide them in half once again, like we did for the blooms, and place one lot horizontally on the table in front of you and the other lot vertically. The horizontal ones, you'll have the long part towards your tummy, and the other ones you'll have the short end towards your tummy. We're going to put these sew and flips once again on the right hand side of the horizontal ones and the top of our vertical ones, and again we'll just do this with our folded corner clipper or our traditional method. Take it to our machine, stitch our seams down and press these out towards the corner. We're now going to lay the first orientation of our blocks out, and this particular type of bloom in the full quilt goes with the bunnies that are facing to the left. There is a reason for it, and I'll cover that a bit later. So what we need to do is just lay this out as per the inset in the top, paying attention to where our different coloured leaves go. This does matter, and it is different for each type of bloom. So in this instance, we're going to put our light green in the top right hand corner and our dark green in the lower left hand corner. They are our 2.5 inch squares or pieces N. We're then going to take the remainder of our L squares and put those in the other corners to have that middle part of our bloom finished, and this can be put together in a classic 9-patch construction. We then need to take the appropriate pieces that we created just before. So in this instance, we need the vertical ones, and we'll place those down in the corner there and up in the top right hand corner to finish our leaf. We'll then take pieces K and fill in the last 2 remaining spaces. Before getting to this step, you could have already joined your leaf sew and flips to your K strips. For some reason, I didn't do that. So for the construction, we'll start by sewing those together, and then we're going to put the center together as a classic 9-patch, first doing all of our vertical seams and then our final horizontal seams. We'll set the leaf units aside for now, but with these vertical seams sewn on our 9-patch center, we will now do some pressing before we do our horizontal seams. On the top and the bottom row, we'll press out towards the solid squares in the corner, and for the center, we'll press towards the center of the block. This will allow us to nest our seams nicely when we go to sew our horizontal rows. We'll then pin those together and sew our horizontal rows and press those up towards the top and down towards the bottom row. With the leaf sections, we'll press towards the darker of the two fabrics. We now just need to add the remaining leaf sections to these, so we'll place those appropriately, matching our colours once again, and pinning those on and doing these two final vertical seams, and this orientation of the bloom block will be done. Once we've sewn both of these on, we'll press them out towards that longer piece away from the actual bloom. For the full quilt, you will need to make 6 blooms in this orientation, as you would have made 6 of the bunnies that are facing to the left. Just reiterating what I said before, you will make a total of 6 blooms in this orientation, as you will have 6 left facing bunnies, sorry. Now we'll just do the other orientation, and the only change here is that you put the light square on the lower right and the dark square on the upper left, and these go with the bunnies that are facing towards the right. Originally this was done as it put the long or the K piece of the leaf towards the bunny's face, so if you weren't sashing the quilt, you could just sew those together with no seams to match. That's the only reason that I laid it out that way. But in the original houndstooth flowers, it is actually done in both directions also, so I just kept true to that pattern. So we'll just speed through piecing this one together as it is identical, and then we'll be done. Sorry about the confusion with my orientation. The first one that we did goes with the bunnies that face to the right, and these ones go to the bunnies that face to the left. I don't know my left from my right, apparently. Anyway, so you'll make a total of 6 of the ones that go with the bunnies facing right, and a total of 4 for the bunnies that are facing to the left, for the full Bunnies and Blooms quilt as pictured on the front of my pattern. The leaves just go in the opposing corners, and as I said, this was originally because if you did this with no sashing, the bunny's face would go in the part that has the long background section, and therefore you would have no seams to match up. We're going to grab our bunnies from last week now and just sew these onto our sashing that we had from last week already put on, and so we'll be one more step ahead before next week's video. Okay, folks, that's it for this week's video. Go out there and sew as many as you like or as few as you like. There is no set time limit for this. I am just doing the videos week by week to fill in the portion where Pat doesn't have a block Wednesday. So if you are making the full quilt, there's no rush to get those done. If you're just making the wall hanging, then this video, the raw footage, took me about an hour to make each of the bloom blocks. We've got one of our sashings on, and next week we'll just cover how to finish up that sashing and putting the borders on. And I thought I would touch on how I do my film strip border, even though I wasn't going to put that on this wall hanging. But you know what? I think I will. Okay, once again, Gillian Bloomfield, if you are watching this video, please reach out to me on the email address I provided in the start so that I can get your prize to you. Okay, that's it for now. So I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.